And speaking of in-person things, we're going to get going. That was a really good segue, and I apologize. So welcome to 1 Million Cups. I'm glad to have everyone here, every one of you. It's awesome to have you here. My name is Leif. It rhymes with safe. Um, if you're reading this, you should grab some coffee. This is a coffee-based group. If you're allergic to coffee, please don't grab coffee. Grab anything else. Download the app and check in. The reason you want to do that is because that's how you find out about changes. Sometimes we have to change the link, or in real life, we'll change the venue maybe, or any sort of other thing. We want to make sure you know what's going on. Alternatively, you can follow us on Instagram, and what else do we have, team? We have Facebook is really a great place too. There's a lot of good things going there. Or the meetup group. We're here every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Rain, sun, shine, coronavirus, whatever, 9 a.m. And let's go ahead and get started. So what are we about? We're here to create a platform for entrepreneurs to share their ideas, and even people that don't think they are entrepreneurs or maybe aren't yet. We're here to ask for help, get help, build a community with each other, and be able to support each other, because as anyone that's thought about it or is doing it knows, it is very hard to do, especially on your own. So that's what we're here for. And we're going to do it again while drinking coffee or other beverage. It's a big coffee focus group. We're going to keep pushing those coffee ideas on you. What makes us different than another meetup group? Well, first of all, it's very orange themed. There's a lot of orange colors going on here. And also, we're here for presentations. So a lot of times, maybe you'll be thinking about pitching your idea. And the big thing about pitching is that you're usually asking for funding and you're going in front of investors. That's usually a really important part of being an entrepreneur, but it's really a long journey to get to the pitching point anyway. So presenting is kind of flushing out an idea, trying something out and seeing how it lands on a group of peers. So we're here to also connect with people from the community, usually people from Seattle, sometimes people from elsewhere. It's great to have people from Phoenix and Kenzie, who is elsewhere in the world too. Anyone else, it's great to have you. And we're here for the community and by the community, meaning that we're not hosted by some local bank that is here to, slowly get people into their banking system. We're just a group of entrepreneurs here in Seattle that take the model Kaufman has built to connect people. And we're here to be radically and intentionally inclusive. Everyone can be an entrepreneur, even if they don't think they are, and we're here to make that so. So across the country, there's actually at least 168 of these communities going on. We've got 3,500 attendees every single week and about 700 volunteers. So the cool thing is, if you're in a different city and you happen to be there on Wednesday, you could go to a local 1 Million Cups chapter and see what entrepreneurship is in that city. Fortunately, right now, you can actually do it virtually. So if you wanted, you can go all the way from the Eastern Seaboard and right along the different time zones, all the way through Alaska, and hit a different one every single hour. Pretty awesome. Here is us at the space normally, staring at the awesome presenter right here. We have had more than 8,000 entrepreneurs on the 1 Million Cup stages across the nation since its inception. This is at the collective right here. And a big special thank you to our community sponsors who normally sponsor the coffee when we're in person, and a small studio for sponsoring our meetup page, which is not free, in case anyone wanted to know. I too was surprised by that fact. So we appreciate their support too. And then of course, this could not happen. You would not be here. You would be either sleeping in or working or staring at the birds if we didn't have all these awesome organizers here. There's a lot to do to make an event happen every single week. So appreciate, big thanks to all of them. Most of them are here today even. And if you wanted to think about being an organizer, to try out a business skill to contribute to your community, just reach out to one of our cool organizers here. There's a bunch of them hanging out, smiling, staring, waiting to talk to you about it. It's a great time. What can you expect today? Well, we're gonna have coffee, like we said, lots of coffee, and conversation. We're gonna have a 6-minute entrepreneur presentation. After that, you will be able to get all your questions answered, and we're gonna have a 20-minute Q&A, which is an opportunity for you to get clarification on something, to provide feedback, to provide suggestions to the person presenting, and just generally kind of engage in conversation. And then to get into some deeper, more impactful conversation afterwards, we're gonna do something called breakout rooms, which is really pretty exciting. You get to just be thrown into a random room with 2 or 3 people, and you get to chat with them as if you were, socializing after the event until you have to leave for the day. So that's what we got for today. I'm excited to get started. So who we have today is John Johnson. He's actually one of the founding members of this Seattle 1 Million Cups community. And him and the rest of them started a great community that's still alive today. And that can't be said for most 1 Million Cups communities. So he did a great job with that. A lot of the other volunteers did a great job with that. And we're excited to have him back to talk about his latest. He told me not to call it a venture. He said to call it a tool. Venture is a big word. So anyway, welcome John to the stage with Dose.
Yay!
All right, I'm gonna stop my sharing so John can start his.
Thank you for having me, Leif. You're getting so much better at your introduction, man. Woo!
Thank you.
Last time, that's you're light years ahead. I love it.
Yeah, last time was not so good, huh?
Not so good. Hey,
thank you.
Can everybody see this screen, or what are you seeing right now?
We see the presenter notes. Yeah, he's got to switch it.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Cool. All right. So thank you for everybody. Thank you for having me, first off. And I'm just happy to be back, as I mentioned. And, first thing when something new happens, I'm like, I got to go to 1 Million Cups. I got to share the story and present, because that's what I tell everybody else to do. So got to eat my own dog food, But today is a very special day because obviously there's a lot of things that's happening in the world right now, and business as usual is no longer in my vocabulary. Trying to get rid of it as much as possible. And I'm sure a lot of you are also doing the same. So Dose is something that is, I want to say, a product of that, a product of not being business as usual. And I'm just happy to share it with you all today. So my name is John Johnson, and I actually am the owner of a creative agency here in Seattle called A Small Studio. I also have a master's degree in architecture and business administration that I received back in like 2014, 2012. I also, as Leif mentioned, founded this chapter of 1 Million Cups after coming from Phoenix and being a part of the community there. When I moved to Seattle, this was a place that I wanted to bring this community for these types of reasons. Ultimately, I am a Black man in America. And no matter what I've done, no matter what I've accomplished in America, this is my identity because of the color of my skin. And I think ultimately the next question that I think we all should be asking is what does this really mean to me as John Johnson? What does it mean to be Black in America? And, if we all have maybe thought that we know what it means to be a Black man in America, maybe we didn't. And obviously a lot of that stuff is coming up right now. But what does that mean to me? What does it mean to be Black man in America? Well, this is my mother, a white woman who was born into a conservative Italian family. This is her high school photo. Isn't she beautiful? Makes me smile all the time. This is the man she fell in love with and was disowned by her family for falling in love with a Black man. And these are their 3 children who never really got an opportunity to meet their father and know their father because he was murdered when they were all very, very young. I came along 7 years later, and that's my mom as a single mother of 4 now that I'm here. And I never knew my father. The only thing I knew about him is that he actually assaulted my mother, and that is how I was brought into this world. Before I was born, I was a product of racial tension, and it's been a significant part of my life since then. And that's for a number of reasons. First and foremost, as you can tell, I'm obviously biracial. Second, I married the love of my life, who also happens to be a white woman. And third, my brother, as some of you might already have known this, because I've shared about him before, has been in prison since I was 11 years old. So as you can see, being Black in America isn't really as black and white for me as many may think, or many may think about other people and the race and the color of their skin. And I believe that this topic of racial inequity is not and will never be that simple, right? We do not know someone because of the color of their skin, right? We do not know someone because of where they grew up or who they fell in love with. And simply put, we do not know, period, in my opinion. And I want us to sit with that. We do not know. However, I believe that the problem is this thing we call social media. We now rely on social media not only for all of our information, but we also rely on it, believe it or not, for, I want to say, help us process our emotions, because we're constantly on it. We're relying on a technology that was built primarily to distribute information, to better understand ourselves and understand others. Does anybody see a flaw in that, and how that could flaw our society and how we connect with others? I don't think that that's up for argument. I want you to take a moment and think about the last time, like, and how you felt when you were on social media the last time that you were on it. Think about how you felt compared to other weeks or other months. All right, odds are you didn't feel better after scrolling through your news feed or scrolling through your stories. I know I didn't. I feel ill sometimes. I feel heavy because of everything that's happening in our world. And that's because social media is built to show you all of that stuff. And they don't care how you feel about it. All they care is that you see it. So to be clear, I believe that social media is the primary reason we are currently in the largest civil rights movement the world has ever seen. Right? So there's good things about social media. There's a reason why this is all happening right now, why these stories are being told, why everybody understands or is better understanding the situation that we're in. And I believe that is not an effective tool for us as humans to process our experiences and to process the experiences of others. Right? You are either on social media, right? Things become even more polarized. They're either black or white, Republican or Democrat, pro-life, pro-choice, rich or poor, right? Like, it's one or the other. And ultimately, you're either right or wrong on social media. And wouldn't you agree that most people on social media will be sure to tell you if you're right or wrong? Yeah, you better believe it. Like, that's what they are hoping to do. This person's wrong. They're right. It's a noisy and opinionated space. And how could we truly process our emotions enough to understand how we feel about something? Whether it's a current event, whether it's something that happened to our family members or friends or whatever it is, how could we understand how to process our emotions on something like social media? Not to mention how someone else truly feels about something. Right? So that's exactly why Dose was created. Dose is a digital platform that amplifies the Black experience and helps shift our perspective in pursuit of racial equity. We wanted to use technology to empower those who have suffered racial inequity to share their story in order to help others better understand it, just like I did earlier in this presentation, while also helping you process your experiences, no matter what those experiences may be. So let me explain. When you land on the website, we want to give people the option. Oh, excuse me. Oh, backfired. You guys see this? Hold on. Darn. I was rolling.
Still rolling, John.
You got this.
Awesome.
You're supposed to be seeing the presentation. All right, hold on. Darn it. That's what happens when you try to put the cues in there. Ah, that's my own rule. I broke it. All right. Cool. Sorry, y'all. All right. So when you land on the website, we want to give people the option to gain perspective from others and other people's experiences like this one.
Oh yeah, there's been several times where I've been told that I act white or talk white, and for a Black person, for me, it's probably the most insulting thing is that what it really boils down to is that they're saying that I'm able to be accepted because I can speak well in a business setting, or because I don't act, in this ghetto or hood, way that they have associated Black people with. So by saying that, what it's really doing is trying to box all Black culture into this hood or, whatever, this ghetto lifestyle that supposedly I'm supposed to fit into, but because I don't, I can now be accepted. It's a disrespect to me, my family, my children, and ultimately it's just based on media and just incorrect depictions of what we are as a people.
And maybe more importantly, we hope that every visitor takes a dose by walking through prompts to process different experiences. Simple yes or no question, right? And depending on that response, you are given a reflective question, right? Based on that prompt. So here, Phil, when someone says that they feared for their life just because they're Black, right? Give a little response depending on your experience, and then next thing you know, you can actually listen to somebody else's experience around that.
I actually am an avid runner, and I never really thought twice about going outside and running, and just, hey, I'm gonna go for a run. It's something I do, I love to do. And I remember one day I was getting ready to go for a run, and I looked at my wife and said, hey, I'm going for a run, and she just had this sad look on her face, and I'm like, what's wrong? And she's like, I'm worried about you. I don't want you to get hurt. And that was the first time that I even thought about it, and second guessed what it was like to go jogging, and if I was actually going to be safe while doing it.
So imagine you now going through these prompts. You've never experienced fearing for your life when going for a jog, but there are other people that have. Right. So now you're filling out these prompts, and now you're actually seeing someone else's experience specifically to the prompt that you just answered no, or you just answered yes to. So we built this because we believe that technology can be used to heal, unite, and evolve our nation through questions that are rarely asked and experiences that are already lived. We already have the questions. We know what questions we should be asking. And there's also people that have already lived these experiences. The problem is that we struggle with asking those questions. The problem is we struggle with gaining those perspectives because people are either angry, don't want to share it, or you just never ask, or you don't know how to ask, and yada, 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 yada. Right? But Dose is now this platform where we can do that. So far, we've had over 3,000 users on this website. We've been featured on many technology newsletters. Webflow, Typeform has featured us. All these other features that I don't even know about, but the design team knows about them. And we've received many comments from people just thankful that they have a place to better understand. and also hearing from people that are just happy they could share their experience that helps someone better understand. That they're not just sharing their experience to vent on social media. They're not just sharing their experience to be potentially exploited for a story, on a news channel or whatever it is. They're sharing their experience because they know that it's actually going to help someone better understand what they've gone through in their life. So there is a lot of momentum, to say the least, for Dose. So I'm sure you're all asking, like, what's next, John? What's next on Dose? And to be honest, I have no idea. I have no idea, because we branded, designed, and built this thing in 4 days. 4 days. We launched last Wednesday. So we launched a week ago, this platform. And we solidified what it was, built the brand, designed and developed the website in 4 days. So while we have a lot figured out already, we still have a long way to go. And I hope to actually talk through some of that with you today. So thank you for listening to my experience. And I just want to encourage all of you to just don't stay silent. Whatever you do, give a dose. Thank you.
Woo!
Thank you, John. Thank you for sharing your experience and story, or at least part of it, with us. It's very moving, at least for me. It's a very impressive company. I won't take too much time. I want to get over to the Q&A. So let's jump into that, and we can talk to it all together about it. So how the Q&A works is I'm going to share my screen and show you a little bit of how that goes. So if you want, you can raise your hand and we'll call on you, or I'll call on you. Or if you have a question that you want read for you, you can send a direct comment to me and I will read it for you. So let's open up the phones, the hand phones, to John. All right, looks like our first hand's from Katie. Katie.
Hi, John. Thank you so much for sharing the story. It's I'd already looked at Dose before, but it's so wonderful to hear even more about the picture there. I'm interested to hear more about, some of the, I realize you may not be able to like answer some of these questions, but 4 days is like impressive, right? I think many of us as entrepreneurs feel like we need to wait until everything is ready, right? There's like that perfectionism. And so I'm just curious, like, can you tell us more about what those 4 days looked like? And, at what stage did you actually launch? Because I imagine that like with those 3,000 hits, you've been gathering and gaining more content. But I'm just curious, at what stage did you end up launching? And again, if I haven't already said this, like, thank you for sharing this and for sharing your story and sharing, what sounds to me like a safe space for people to share and to learn and to try to come to an understanding.
Well, it's my honor and I think my duty. This is a way that I was able to take action. So the 4 days really was me feeling like I needed to do something. I was literally curled up on the floor in my bedroom, which is my office, as you can see, because I'm just like, I can't go about business as usual. And I started the whole presentation with that, right? Prefaced with that. So I was running. I'm like, what do I have? What resources do I have to move the needle forward on what's happening in our nation? And I was running and I just felt so out of integrity. I felt so inauthentic. And, the mission of a small studio is to use our gifts to bring peace to people's lives, right? As creatives, use our gifts to bring peace to people's lives. And I'm like, well, we're not doing that. We're being inauthentic right now. So I instantly paused and I'm like, you know what? We're going to pause work on our clients. Called my clients, said, hey, we're going to stop working for this week, and we're going to focus on moving the needle forward. They were nothing but understanding and supportive. And I told my team, next thing you know, our team is on a call at 9:30 that night. This was at 4:30. I went for a run. 9:30, they're on a call. Other people, we partnered with Dr. Julia Garcia, who's really the mastermind behind Dose, but it was just a collective effort to focus it into the direction of racial inequity and racial injustice right now in our nation. And Julia brought some of her team members. Next thing you know, we have 15 people on a call just like this. And we're like, we're going, we got to build this thing. And we met every day for 3 days straight, right through the weekend. Had a soft launch on Monday. We started on, I think, Thursday. And we just all divided and conquered. And that was, I think, the beautiful thing of it is we all used our gifts. What are you good at? Okay, great, do that. And obviously a small studio served as a foundation for that, because that's what we do, is we create brands and products. So our team was able to serve as a foundation to lead this thing forward and to bring it to life in such a short period of time. It's very beautiful what we can do when we all get together on a, very specific and focused mission to make a difference. And when you asked what phase did we launch, we said, okay, we want to get this. We want a place where people can share their experiences and also gain perspective, right? That was it. So we came up with an MVP flow. We started with wireframes, and we were building the brand as we were building the wireframes, as we were like coming up with the doses, as we were asking people to share content and all of these things. It was magical, really. But ultimately, we just knew that we were going to launch. I said, hey, Monday we're launching. and everybody got on board with it, and we were able to actually have something on Monday, but we ended up launching on Wednesday. So in 1 week, actually less than a week, we launched everything that you see online right now.
Yeah. Wow. Awesome. The power of community, right? Like, great work.
Yeah.
I'm going to sneak a question in there while people are, oh, wait, there's a hand over there, Nathaniel.
Hi, John.
Hey.
I do have a question. First of all, obviously it's beautiful, it's stunning, it's beautifully designed. My question is, as a Black man, as an expat Black man in America, I experience a lot of what I've seen on that website often. I'm curious though how the website doesn't then turn into an echo chamber. I mean, because if it's for Black people and we're expressing situations that microaggressions or full-on racism that we've encountered, how then, since we don't need anyone to necessarily tell us or remind us of the first time we've been called the N-word, or the first time a purse has been clutched tight next to us, or why a friend of ours has said that we feel more intellectual because we speak this way rather than that way. I'm curious as to how the website doesn't become an echo chamber. Also, I'm curious as to how can we avoid the POCs and Black people that utilize it, how we can avoid them having to take care of non-POCs that are like learning from the website. Because I know that we deal with this onslaught of this microaggressions and full-on aggression of racism every day. And it's just, is it a safe space for POCs and Black people to vent about what they need to discuss without having the fear that we have to then explain to people who are also involved in the conversation? Like, how are we protected as POCs in this collective space? That's my question.
Yeah. That's a great question. And that's something that we really wanted to focus on as we launched this. We didn't want it to be exploitive. And as I mentioned, that's why I honed in so much on social media, because social media, you're obligated to create two-way communication. You're obligated, when you post something, people can comment on that post, whether you want them to or not. Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, the terrible part about social media. Sometimes you're not posting things to get other people's opinions. I don't care what you think. I'm just sharing what I feel right now. And that's why it's really hard to process your emotions on social media. So we wanted Dose to be that space where you can share what you're feeling. You can share your experience around this, and there is no obligation of even sharing your identity, right? Because you can do it anonymously
Same,
on
brother.
their
Same.
text, right? But it's a way that we broke down the two-way communication. So actually, you're not allowed to comment on the things, because you don't need the comments, right? You don't need to share your opinion about this person's experience. That's what I hope this thing starts to get through to people. That's why I presented the way I did, is because I don't care what you guys think about my experience. This is just my experience. Take it for what you want and use it to grow as an individual, and then move forward. Because that's the bad thing, is Black people do have to take on that role of helping others. I've taken on that role because I'm biracial, right? And I say that I'm passionately biracial. So it's very hard for me to hate a race of people where I felt so much love from, two specific women. So I'm like, how can I be the bridge, right? And I hope that this platform becomes a bridge. But for you, Nathaniel, I think I like to think about it not as an echo chamber, but once again, a tool. So now when you see one of your friends say something online that is, pure ignorance, or, you see them say whatever it is, you can just say, hey, why don't you go to Give a Dose, and check this out. Or, hey, here's an experience that may help you better understand. Because
Okay.
really, because then it's not as heavy of a lift anymore. The biggest struggle that I've seen specifically for myself and other people that I've talked to is that conversation is just heavy, period. The conversation is not easy, whether you're a Black person or a white person or a person of color. The conversation is just not easy. So we as Black people need to hold a certain posture, right? We don't want to let our emotions flow too much. We don't want to let our passion flow, because next thing you know, we're intimidating and somebody might get scared and yada, all of these second guessing that's happening in the head. And then on the flip side, what I've seen is that white people don't want to say the wrong thing. So they're timid. They're not asking the questions. So that's what DOSE is that's why it's told Leif that this is a tool, right, to share with others to help them better understand, and to use in order to better understand yourself and to process your own experiences, whether you're white or you're Black. But specifically right now, we need to amplify the Black experience, because that's the most misunderstood experience that's taking place right now, because of all the microaggressions, because of all the racism, because of all the systemic issues, because it's all happening online on social media, which is terrible, in my opinion. And that's why we created this alternative to social media to do exactly what you're talking about, Nate.
I like that. I guess I was unclear about the target. But now that I understand that I mean, I wake up to DMs on Instagram and all social media asking if friends have ever offended or ever said anything out of line, or what organizations they can donate to. Like, I even spoke to Leif. I like, in Venmo, I have like $200 from white friends just giving me money. Like, sorry, here's $50, and it's just like, now I see that this is a place that I would be able to not only express how confusing that might feel, but also get advice regarding what to do in situations like that. I think a lot of us as POCs and Black people have not been in this situation before. I mean, our parents have gone through the civil rights movement, but here we have a lot more technology. We have a lot more access to information now, and it gets overwhelming. And so now I think I completely understand exactly what it's for. I was a little confused, and I was just like, how do we protect ourselves from having to do the heavy lifting within something that's supposed to do the lifting for us? But yeah. I get it. Yeah, I think, yeah, I'm curious and excited.
Good. Tessa?
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, great. Yeah, thank you for creating this website and putting your time and energy into it. It's kind of been an ongoing frustration for me as to like outside of kind of knowing on a academic level or like a theoretical level what race is, to be able to engage in it, especially when like the world seems to be more and more segregated in some ways, and less ability to connect with other communities, whether of race or culture or anything. So I appreciate this exists, and because of that, I'd like to know, I'm kind of just quickly looking at it now, and so the questions that come up after you've, the first question is like, are you a black person or a white person? I think, and there are questions where you fill in what you want to say as a white person, and I understanding that the idea is amplify the black voices and the black experience, or the even people of color. As I like, as white people respond to those questions and they come up, will you be using those will you be kind of looking at those answers and things and kind of trying to find ways to write new questions that will allow, experiences, kind of have an iterative effect of like, because I'm not, I know that's like probably a lot of maintaining, or that you need someone dedicated solely to the website to do that, and that might be a lot, but sort of some sort of like a conversation without it being the terrible social media setup of just commenting whatever you want to say without any kind of media like mitigation of how that impacts people. Like, is there going to be that kind of a conversation with on a bigger level, some conversation happening?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Dr. Julia Garcia is the brains behind the emotional and social intelligence side of things. But for what you're asking, I see this as being a way of not only collecting information and data to better amplify the Black experience. So you think about amplifying the Black experience, it's not just amplifying their experiences and their stories, it's also amplifying what it feels like to be Black, right? So you could actually feel Nate's response when he shares about his story, or you feel my response, because it's very hard to feel of emotional intelligence, which is a lot easier, I think, for certain people to feel. But I think for you specifically, to your question, part of our assumption, and this is just an assumption, but we validated it with certain responses from people that have already participated, just by answering the questions is a way of processing what we're going through as a nation. Just by answering the question, have you ever feared for your life when being pulled over by a cop? Yes or no? Just by answering the yes or no question makes you understand and think about it, versus, 100 Black people have been killed by cops. Like, that's just a fact. Okay, cool. And then what do you do with that, right? You're not really feeling it. You're just hearing it, and you may consume it. You may process it. You may not, right? It's just, maybe not. So just by answering that question, and then the further reflective question, Julia Garcia has come up with this process of this 1, 2, 3 framework to help people process their social and emotional health, right? And that's what she's been practicing for many years with youth that have been impacted by drug abuse, by so on and so forth, right? And she's used that framework to help in this very focused way. And we started with unconscious biases and microaggressions, but this can continue to grow into the incarceration system, or healthcare, real estate, the corporate work environments, right? But the biggest thing is just to help you, give you a space to process it. As a white person in a Black environment, my wife's family doesn't know any Black people. How are they going to process what it feels like to be Black if they don't know any Black people? And there's many people in America who don't know any Black people, so they're only getting the Black experience and the Black perspective from media and social media. They're not actually able to, I think, feel it in many ways. And these are all assumptions. Remember, I'm not the doctor. However, in a week, I think we've established a lot of I think, good perspectives because of the diverse team that has built this thing.
Tessa, thank you for your question. Looks like we got one more from Zucky.
Hi, John. How you doing?
Hey.
So thanks so much for this. I was very excited when I first saw the site last week when we learned that you're going to be giving the presentation, and great job. Everything about it was fantastic. I have two things that are on my mind. One is I worry about are you guys taking care for the horrible person who gets on there and tries to abuse your system and put something nasty and awful on there? Because I believe that that's a fear, a real possibility, just because there are nasty, horrible people out there who might go that route.
Yeah, that's why we're not doing it on social media. We moderate, and we will moderate everything. So as of right now, especially for this MVP, it doesn't automatically post to the wall. So we'll be moderating everything, and specifically in those dose experiences, we will be curating the experiences that we share at the end of each dose to make sure that people gain those perspectives. Because the first and foremost, our main priority is to make sure people are learning and make sure that they're processing these experiences, right? So we want to do our best to amplify as many Black experiences as we can, but any form of ignorance or racism or any type of hate, all of those things are out the window. And that's, I think, Tessa, you said it in your question that I didn't respond to. That's part of why this, like, as soon as we launched, actually before we launched, we realized we are responsible now for so many people's emotions, right? They share things with us that we may have never imagined. I've gotten responses from my sister that I never heard that she went through, right? It's on the website, Amelia J, that's my sister. And I'm like, so now that we actually are now responsible for so many people's emotions just by launching this platform. And we need to make sure that we're protecting that and doing it with the utmost integrity of giving experiences and gaining perspective, not spreading hate, not polarizing, none of that. That's social media.
That's very cool. That's what I was hoping would be the plan, would be to do that. As a follower.
Hey, sorry, Zucky, I think your microphone went out. Had to mute you. No.
No.
Yeah, microphone's back.
Can you type it in? Sorry about that. Everyone's got their ears still going here. See, John's got his cool cup, his swag.
Okay.
We might have he's gonna type his question in there. In the meantime, it looks like we got one last question for Katie, and then we're gonna move on to breakout rooms.
Yeah, just kind of piggybacking on that same topic, knowing that like you or, your sister or, many of these other folks who have shared their story, are there questions or worries about retribution, right? About like, privacy. So I'm just curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, as you go on the website, you'll see the dose, and we ask specifically for permission if they want us to share it or not. They're also able to share anonymously if they want. So it's not about who's sharing it or whose story it is. It's more so about making sure that the experiences are being heard. So once again, remember, all this is being processed, but I literally had a call this morning. How do we get more people to be encouraged to share their experience? It's not about, hey, you're Black, share your experience, which I've gotten a lot of those, reach outs myself. It's more so, hey, stop repeating yourself. Use dose to share your experience, and then you can share that with all of your friends that need to know what you went through, right? A safe space to do that, and non-two-way communications, because they could easily do it on social media and be like, hey, friends, here, don't call me anymore. Just go here. And then, oh, here's you're this, you're that. Oh, thank you for sharing your experience. You're so strong and yada yada. It's just, I'm sorry, y'all. Like, I'm so over social media because it's just, it gives people a way of not really feeling. Like, even just, oh, you're so strong, I'm here for you. Like, okay, cool. Are you? What are you doing? How are you taking action? I was watching Trevor Noah last night, and the guys, I don't know, you guys should watch it. It's a great episode, but it's like, yeah, I've named my dog, racism's bad. I think that was a funny thing. And it's like, okay, well, what's that going to do, right? Like, what else are you doing to take action on what's happening right now? And we don't want to tell people how to take action. I don't want to tell people how to take action. I just wanted to use my gift to give people an opportunity to learn and to understand, because I know that I've been misunderstood my entire life and still are misunderstood. And that's why I shared my story right there at the beginning, because I don't think many of us understand each other's story and where we came from and what we're dealing with and how we were born into this world and the racial tensions that have lasted since 1955 when my mother was born, right? Like, we need to have more conversations like this one, and stop beating around the bush. We need to be real. We need to be honest, and we need to be, I want to say, uncomfortable. And this is a great space to be uncomfortable in a safe way, I hope. So be comfortable being uncomfortable. That's what it is.
Great question. Great answer. I like it. We're just going to finish up with one here from one of our resident teachers, Zaki. This should be a quick one just to get us through. He says, I was wondering if there is a way to curate specific experiences that might be used in an educational setting. I'm thinking for middle grade students and teachers exploring and talking about what they find. Not all topics might be appropriate for our age group, but thoughts there.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Julia Garcia, she actually specializes in schools. That's where she built most of her career. So out of all the things that we have figured out, that is one of our next steps, is to actually come up with tracks that people can take in order to gain a better perspective on a specific conversation or topic, whether that's racial equity, in the workplace or in school, or it's for parents that have to deal with conversations around racism. All of, like, doses are just bite-sized chunks, right? They're bite-sized chunks to help people deal with a certain topic. And you can see how this platform could expand into the corporate space or into the educational space. But I think education and the educational space is the first and foremost next step, as we start to solidify what this platform is and actually spend more time with it.
All right. Thank you for answering that question, John, and thank you for presenting. We always ask our presenters the question, with quotes around it, name brand, the question, and it's what can the 1 Million Cups community do for you? We're all eager to help.
Yeah, I think this one is probably one of my most simple asks that I ever had on the 1 Million Cup stage. Go onto giveadose.co and take a dose. That's it. Take one dose, each of you, no matter who you are, where you're from, what your experiences are. Go on there, take one dose or take all 30 of the doses. Challenge yourself to actually feel your emotions, to feel the experience, to feel what is happening right now in our country. And I think dose is a great first step to that.
It's very actionable. We can all do it.
Easy.
You're right. It's a good, the easiest one to answer for you probably this whole time. And then I'm sure everyone else is wondering what we can all do for each other here, and that is to bring someone next week. If you thought this was an inspiring, interesting presentation, or if you would like to present, you can also do that at any time through the 1 Million Cups website, and you can just apply to present. So thank you for everyone for coming. It was beneficial to have every single one of you here. We couldn't have done it without you. thank you for being here. And thank you, John, for presenting on this topic and willing and sharing yourself and your story. And we're going to jump into some breakout rooms really quick. And what that is you'll end up in a room with a random person with this group, 2 or 3 people, and you can chat about things until you have to go. And if you don't know what to chat about, start with first name and favorite animal and what you thought of this presentation, and maybe go deeper into it. It's up to you, so use it how you will. And we're going to do that in, there it is. All right. So thank you for coming. We'll see you next week. Please find us on social media so you can hear the rooms, and we'll head out to our rooms. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.